1. Monte Cristo, Homestead, Australia's most haunted house. Nestled in the quiet town of Junee, New South Wales, Monte Cristo Homestead stands as a chilling monument to the past. Built in 1884, this stately Victorian mansion, with its elegant architecture, hides a darker side beneath its grandeur. Renowned as Australia's most haunted house, it has a reputation steeped in eerie tales and supernatural phenomena, attracting thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. From the moment you step inside, an unsettling chill seems to cling to the air, as if unseen eyes are watching your every move. The house is said to be haunted by at least 10 restless spirits, each with a story to tell. Among the most infamous is the ghost of a maid who tragically died after falling, or perhaps being pushed, down the grand staircase. Her bloodstains are said to still mark the steps, and her presence lingers in the form of a spectral figure in a flowing period dress. Many claim to see her pacing the veranda, or catching fleeting glimpses of her at the top of the staircase, her gaze as cold as the air that fills the house. But the maid is not the only spirit said to haunt Monte Cristo. Visitors have reported feeling an inexplicable resistance while climbing the staircase, as if an unseen hand were pulling at their ankles, trying to drag them back. Others have heard heavy footsteps echoing in empty hallways, or doors slamming shut without a breeze in sight. One guest swore they felt a sharp tug on their sleeve, only to turn around and find nothing but empty air. The house's eerie atmosphere only intensifies at night. During one chilling tour, a group of visitors heard a loud crashing noise coming from one of the upstairs bedrooms. Heart racing, they approached the room cautiously, only to find it completely empty. As they turned to leave, a shadowy figure suddenly appeared at the top of the stairs. A woman in a tattered Victorian gown, her expression void of life. Just as quickly as she appeared, she vanished into the darkness, leaving the group shaken to their core. Perhaps the most unnerving encounter comes from a caretaker who once lived on the property. He claimed to have awoken in the middle of the night to find a glowing figure hovering at the foot of his bed, watching him silently. Frozen in fear, he could only watch as the apparition slowly faded away, leaving behind a lingering sense of dread. Monte Cristo Homestead's chilling reputation stems not just from ghostly sightings, but from a string of tragic events that have unfolded within its walls. From untimely deaths to unexplained accidents, the house seems to be a magnet for sorrow, with echoes of the past still reverberating through its corridors. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, Monte Cristo has a way of making you question what's real and what lies just beyond the veil of the living. Step inside, if you dare, but be warned, Monte Cristo Homestead is not for the faint of heart. 2. Beechworth Asylum echoes from the shadows. Nestled in the historic town of Beechworth, Victoria, the Beechworth Asylum stands as a chilling reminder of a past steeped in sorrow and darkness. For 128 years, this institution housed thousands deemed mentally ill, many of whom would never leave its cold, unforgiving walls. Over 9,000 patients died here, and whispers of their lingering presence continue to haunt its deserted corridors. One of the most unnerving tales involves a 10-year-old boy who joined a ghost tour at Beechworth. While the group listened to the guide's stories, the boy stood in the shadows, seemingly engrossed in a quiet conversation with someone unseen. When his parents asked whom he was talking to, he casually replied, "James." What seemed like an innocent moment turned terrifying when research later revealed that James was the name of a child who had died in the asylum decades earlier, right in the same spot where the boy had stood. Visitors to Beechworth often report a suffocating atmosphere, as though the walls themselves bear the weight of untold suffering. Many claim to hear faint footsteps following them down the long, decaying hallways, only to turn and find nothing. Others have experienced an icy grip on their shoulders or hands, as if a ghostly figure were reaching out to make contact. One particularly chilling account comes from a group exploring the asylum's former laundry room. As they lingered in the silence, a metallic scraping noise echoed through the space, like steel dragging across the floor. One visitor screamed when a dark figure with glowing eyes appeared in the corner, watching them intently before vanishing into the shadows. The air grew heavy with dread, and the group hurriedly fled the room. The asylum's children's ward is notorious for its eerie phenomena. A man who entered the ward on a dare described feeling an oppressive force pressing against his chest. The room's temperature dropped to an unbearable cold, and as he moved to leave, the door slammed shut behind him with a deafening bang. He froze in terror as a childlike giggle echoed through the darkness, playful yet sinister, as if something unseen was toying with him. The most harrowing account comes from a former caretaker. One night, while checking the asylum alone, he noticed a faint light emanating from a locked room. When he opened the door, he saw a shadowy figure standing in the corner, facing away from him. As he called out, the figure slowly turned, revealing a featureless face. No eyes, no mouth, just an empty void where a face should have been. Before he could react, his flashlight flickered and died, plunging him into darkness. The door slammed shut behind him, and it took him several frantic moments to break free and escape the building. Beechworth Asylum is more than a relic of history. It's a gateway to the unknown, a place where the past refuses to rest. Those brave enough to explore its haunted halls may find themselves face to face with the inexplicable. But beware, what you encounter within its walls may linger long after you've left, a chilling reminder of the shadows that still roam Beechworth Asylum. 3. Jenolan Caves, Mysteries Beneath the Earth. Nestled deep within the Blue Mountains of New South Wales, Jenolan Caves is a natural masterpiece formed over millions of years. This vast network of intricate tunnels, expansive chambers, and serene reflective pools is one of Australia's most awe-inspiring attractions. Recognized as one of the oldest cave systems in the world, Jenolan Caves draws thousands of visitors each year, not only for its surreal beauty, but also for the chilling stories of the unexplained that have shrouded it in mystery for generations. Beneath the glistening stalactites and shimmering waters lies an atmosphere of eerie stillness. The narrow, pitch-black passages and the haunting echoes of footsteps often leave visitors with the unsettling sensation that they are not alone. Many believe this place is more than just a natural wonder. It's a crossroads between the known world and the supernatural. Among the tales surrounding Jenolan Caves is the legend of James Wybird, a devoted caretaker who spent his life exploring and preserving the caves. So deeply connected to the place, he requested his ashes be scattered within the caves after his death. Many believe his spirit lingers, continuing to watch over the caves he loved so dearly. One of the most unsettling encounters was shared by a tour guide who recounted meeting a mysterious visitor. During a tour, an elderly man in a classic suit approached the guide and shared an obscure fact about a hidden button submerged in one of the reflective pools, a detail few could know. Yet when the guide tried to locate the man afterward, he had vanished without a trace. Upon investigation, the story about the button proved true, leaving many to wonder if the man was James Wybird himself. The mysteries of Jenolan Caves don't end with Wybird. Guests frequently report bizarre phenomena, including the sudden silence of dripping water, as if halted by an unseen force, followed moments later by an intensifying, rapid drumming of droplets echoing through the tunnels. Others have described hearing the chilling sound of claws scraping against the stone walls, as though something monstrous were trying to break free. In one particularly harrowing experience, a group on a night tour encountered a sudden wave of icy air as they ventured into a remote section of the cave. A faint breeze followed, accompanied by a haunting wail that seemed to rise and fall like a distant cry. When a member of the group turned on their flashlight, they saw a figure standing just a few meters away, a cloaked guide gesturing toward a narrow pathway. Assuming it was part of the tour, the group followed the figure, only for it to vanish as they reached a dead end. The air around them grew dense, the faint smell of ashes lingering, as if to remind them they were not alone. Jenolan Caves is not merely a marvel of nature, but a place where the line between reality and the unknown blurs, challenging even the bravest to confront what lies hidden in its shadows. Four, National Film and Sound Archive, The Haunted Halls of History. In the heart of Canberra stands the National Film and Sound Archive, a building that serves as a treasure trove of Australia's cultural heritage. Yet, beyond its role as a repository of the nation's memories, the building carries an unsettling history that makes it one of the most eerie locations in the country. Before becoming the archive, this site was home to the Australian Institute of Anatomy, housing hundreds of human skeletons, body parts, and even preserved specimens, including Far Lap's heart, Ned Kelly's skull, and a mummy from Papua New Guinea. The remnants of this dark past linger in the hallways and rooms, creating an atmosphere heavy with unspoken stories. Staff and visitors alike have reported strange occurrences. Many claim to have smelled a faint metallic tang in the air, reminiscent of decaying flesh or chemicals, as if the ghost of its former purpose still haunts the building. In some areas, an eerie red glow has been seen flickering through the old dissection rooms, casting shadows that evoke the image of blood-soaked walls. Unexplained noises are common, especially near the recording booths, which were once used as dissection labs. Employees have described hearing the chilling sound of metal scraping against bone, like a scalpel slicing through tissue, echoing through the empty rooms. Others have witnessed objects moving seemingly on their own. Microphones in the studios turn slightly, as if an unseen hand were adjusting them, and chairs slide across the floor without anyone nearby. One particularly spine-tingling account involves a security guard who felt a tug at his jacket while walking out of one of the old anatomy rooms. When he turned around, he saw a figure in the dim light, a small mummy, once an exhibit in the Institute, lying on the floor. Its arms seemed slightly outstretched toward him, as if reaching for his retreating form. Frozen with fear, he bolted, but the sensation of being pulled back lingered on his shoulder long after he left the room. In another incident, late-night workers heard the sudden, unmistakable sound of a heavy door slamming shut in a locked room. When they opened it, they were met with an unsettling sight: a faint, red light glowing in the corner, and the hazy outline of a figure in a white coat, reminiscent of the anatomy doctors of old. The figure dissolved into the darkness the moment the lights were switched on, leaving nothing but an oppressive silence. The National Film and Sound Archive is more than a building of cultural preservation. It is a place where history refuses to rest. The unexplainable phenomena, strange odors, and spectral sightings make it a chilling reminder of its macabre origins. Entering its halls, one can't help but feel the weight of its haunted past pressing down, as if the spirits of those once studied there still linger, unwilling to leave. 5. Red Bank Tunnel, The Curse of the Shadows. Following the chilling tales of the National Film and Sound Archive, our journey leads us to Picton, a small town in New South Wales often called Australia's most haunted. At the heart of its eerie reputation is Red Bank Tunnel, a dark, abandoned railway tunnel shrouded in mystery and tragedy. This site is most famously associated with the story of Emily Ballard, a young woman who met her untimely death there in 1916. Once part of a bustling railway line, Red Bank Tunnel is now a desolate and foreboding place. According to legend, Emily Ballard was struck by a train as she walked through the tunnel one fateful night. Her body was violently thrown against the rocky walls, and her spirit is said to linger, trapped in the darkness. Visitors to the tunnel frequently report hearing distant, blood-curdling screams echoing from its depths, agonized cries that seem to replay Emily's final moments. Those brave enough to venture into the tunnel after sunset often recount terrifying experiences. Many describe a sudden chill in the air, followed by the unmistakable sensation of someone softly breathing on the back of their neck. When they turn around, they are met with nothing but the oppressive darkness. The deeper one goes, the more palpable the feeling of being watched becomes, as if unseen eyes are tracking every movement. Some have witnessed a ghostly figure of a woman in a flowing white dress standing motionless in the center of the tunnel. Her face, however, is a void, featureless and blank, a haunting reflection of the violent end she met. On stormy nights, her apparition becomes even more horrifying, appearing drenched and blood-stained, with streaks of red running from her dress to the ground. Strangely, These bloody stains are said to sometimes linger on the floor long after her figure has vanished. But Emily isn't the only ghostly presence in Red Bank Tunnel. Visitors have reported the ground becoming inexplicably damp, emitting a metallic, blood-like smell. Shadows of small children with hollow black eyes are said to dart through the darkness, their faint laughter or whispered voices unnervingly close to one's ears. For many, this eerie sound is enough to send shivers down their spine. One of the most terrifying accounts involves a group of tourists who felt an invisible force gripping their ankles, preventing them from moving deeper into the tunnel. One individual fell, only to discover red stains spreading across the ground, as if fresh blood was seeping from the very earth. Moments later, a deafening scream erupted from the far end of the tunnel, forcing the group to flee. Even as they ran, the oppressive cold and a strange sense of being followed lingered until they finally escaped the tunnel. Red Bank Tunnel is more than just an abandoned relic of history. It's a place where the past refuses to rest. From Emily Bollard's haunting presence to the inexplicable sights and sounds that chill visitors to their core, this tunnel remains a harrowing reminder of the thin veil between the living and the dead. Enter at your own risk, for in its shadows, you may encounter far more than darkness. 6. Fremantle Arts Centre screams from the shadows. Located in the heart of Fremantle, Western Australia, the Fremantle Arts Centre has a dark and harrowing past that still lingers within its walls. Before becoming a renowned arts hub, this building served as an asylum for the criminally insane, a place steeped in pain, anguish, and death. The remnants of its disturbing history continue to haunt those who dare to step inside. Visitors have shared chilling accounts of eerie encounters. One person described walking past an old cell and suddenly seeing a gaunt figure with wide, unblinking eyes and a grotesque, twisted mouth, its tongue hanging unnaturally long. The figure's body appeared to contort, as if writhing in unseen torment, and before they could scream, it vanished into the cold, suffocating air. In the section once used for electroshock therapy, the atmosphere is said to feel stifling, almost tangible. A paranormal investigator reported smelling burning flesh as soon as he entered, a nauseating odor that clung to the room like a sinister reminder of the horrors once endured there. Some have claimed to see faint shadows of patients writhing on the floor, their expressions frozen in anguish, only to disappear when approached. The sounds of Fremantle Arts Centre are equally unnerving. Blood-curdling screams echo through the hallways, mingling with guttural growls and maniacal laughter, as if the spirits of the tormented are reliving their suffering. On quieter nights, the soft, chilling laughter of a madman can be heard, sending shivers down the spine of anyone unlucky enough to hear it. One night guard recounted hearing the metallic scrape of chains dragging across the floor, only to find an empty corridor when he investigated. But as he turned to leave, he spotted a shadowy figure with a disjointed neck and a vacant stare standing motionless at the end of the hallway. The figure slowly dissolved into the darkness, leaving him frozen in terror. The horrors aren't just auditory or visual. Some visitors have reported physical sensations that are impossible to explain. People have described feeling a cold, invisible hand gripping their arm or pulling at their clothing as if trying to stop them from leaving. Others claim to have felt a breath against their neck, cold and deliberate, though no one else was near. Photographs taken at Fremantle Arts Centre often reveal chilling anomalies. One visitor captured an image showing a figure in an old patient's uniform, its glowing eyes staring directly into the camera. No one else had seen the figure at the time, and the photo became a haunting reminder of the place's sinister history. If you've ever visited Fremantle Arts Centre and experienced something strange or unexplainable, share your story in the comments below. Who knows? You might not have been alone after all. 7. Sydney's Quarantine Station, the breath of death. Perched on the edge of North Head in New South Wales, Sydney's Quarantine Station looms like a spectral giant against the serene backdrop of the sea. But don't be deceived by its picturesque exterior. For over 150 years, this site served as a grim holding ground for those afflicted by deadly plagues: bubonic plague, Spanish influenza, Smallpox. Thousands of people perished here, their dying breaths trapped in the suffocating walls, and their shadows still linger. As night falls, the air at the quarantine station grows heavy, almost oppressive. Under the dim glow of scattered lamps, darkness thickens like a living entity, swallowing sound and light. Walking through its desolate corridors, visitors often hear faint moans echoing from the past. The coughs, wet and rasping, the desperate gasps of breath, seem to rise from empty, long-abandoned sick rooms, as though the suffering never truly ended. The hauntings are not just in sound. Many guests have reported seeing shadowy figures moving past windows, their forms distorted and hunched. In the area that once served as a hospital ward, the apparition of a woman in a white dress is frequently spotted. She stands still in the darkness, her vacant gaze fixed on something unseen. When approached, her figure vanishes, but not before leaving behind an icy chill that cuts through the skin like a knife. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from a group of visitors on a ghost tour on a moonless night. In the middle of the corridor, a woman in the group suddenly froze. Her body began to tremble as she whispered incomprehensible words, her voice low and guttural, as though coming from someone or something else. Her wide eyes were fixated on a point deep in the shadows, and when others tried to move her, she let out a bone-chilling scream. The voice that came out of her was not her own, deep, raspy, and ancient, like it had traveled across centuries. Only when she was dragged out of the corridor did she seem to snap back to herself, leaving everyone else paralyzed with fear. Even the smells of the quarantine station add to its horror. Visitors have described an overwhelming stench of blood and decay lingering in areas that once served as burial grounds. The scent clings to the air, impervious to the sea breeze, as though the very earth has absorbed the sorrow of the countless dead. One guest claimed to see what appeared to be a faint trail of blood on the floor of a darkened room, but when they returned moments later, it had vanished without a trace. Sydney's quarantine station is more than a historical relic. It's a portal to the past, where pain and death still breathe through its corridors. If you dare to visit, be prepared to face the spirits who remain trapped in their endless night. 8. Ned Kelly's ghost and the horrifying phenomena at the old Melbourne jail. A thick darkness envelops the cold stone walls of the old Melbourne jail, a prison that once held thousands of sinful souls and bore witness to countless tragic deaths. Nestled in the heart of the bustling city, this jail stands as a blood-stained scar on the face of modernity, harboring vengeful spirits unable to rest. Built in 1841, Old Melbourne Jail was not only a place of imprisonment, but also a graveyard for the desperate screams of the condemned, serving as the eternal resting place for over 130 executed prisoners, including the infamous Ned Kelly, Australia's most notorious outlaw. The legend of Ned Kelly's ghost looms over the jail like a curse. It is said that his soul, filled with hatred, still roams the darkness, seeking revenge for the unjust death he suffered on the gallows in 1880. During eerie nighttime tours, the heavy sound of footsteps echoes through the empty corridors as though Kelly is lurking nearby. A bone-chilling cold wraps around visitors as they pass the cell where Kelly was once imprisoned, an invisible hand brushing against their skin, sending a shiver down their spine. But Kelly is not the only spirit imprisoned here. From the dimly lit cells, gasps of breath and agonizing moans tear through the night, like tortured souls desperate for release. The feeling of someone standing right behind you, their icy breath on the back of your neck, forces you to turn in a panic, only to be met with impenetrable darkness and a deathly silence. One cold winter night, a group of tourists witnessed an unimaginable horror in Cell 3. A woman felt a chilling, invisible hand tighten around her shoulder, suffocating her. A blood-curdling scream split the air, and she collapsed unconscious. When she regained consciousness, all she could remember was the bone-deep cold and the sensation of dark, thick blood running down her spine. On the gloomy attic floor, a hastily taken photograph captured the blurry image of a tall figure in an old military uniform, someone who was not part of the group. An eerie, ghostly giggle echoed in the air, And the most terrifying part was that the photograph suddenly appeared stained with blood, as if the figure had been wounded, though no one had touched the camera. The bell hanging on the door leading to the execution chamber is another source of terror. It rings on its own in the dead of night, emitting a shrill, anguished sound, like the wailing of lost souls from the depths of hell. When a tourist reached out to touch the bell, a cold, lifeless hand landed on her shoulder, causing her to break into uncontrollable sobs. A chilling breath filled the air, accompanied by broken whispers. Revenge. Revenge. The horror consumed them all, forcing them to flee in terror. The old Melbourne jail is not just an old prison. It is a labyrinth of ghostly tales, where fear seeps into every brick and every wall. The groans, the lurking shadows, and the sense of blood-soaked terror continue to haunt visitors to this day, making it one of the most terrifying haunted locations in Australia. Do you have the courage to face the darkness and the angry spirits that await in the old Melbourne jail? 9. Port Arthur. Hell's echoes still linger. Nestled on the rugged Tasman Peninsula in Tasmania, Port Arthur stands as a haunting reminder of a dark past. Once a notorious penal settlement, this site was infamous for its cruelty and despair, earning it the grim nickname Hell on Earth among its convicts. Over 1,000 lives were lost within its stone walls, and their suffering is said to echo through the ruins to this day, making Port Arthur one of the Southern Hemisphere's most haunted places. At night, Port Arthur transforms into a realm of fear. Darkness engulfs the crumbling ruins and strange sounds emerge from the shadows. Visitors have reported hearing heavy footsteps dragging across the floors of abandoned cell blocks, growing louder as if someone or something is approaching. One group, during a guided night tour, recounted an experience in an old cell block where their flashlights suddenly died. In the pitch-black silence, they heard the chilling screech of metal chains being dragged against the stone walls, inching closer. When the lights flickered back on, the group found deep scratches etched into the walls, as though clawed by desperate hands. The old prison is not the only source of terror. The former hospital, where tortured and diseased prisoners were treated, carries its own sinister aura. A staff member once described seeing a ghostly figure in a nurse's uniform gliding down the hallway, a dim lantern in her hand. When she called others to witness it, the figure vanished into thin air. Yet, the oppressive chill and the faint metallic tang of blood lingered in the air, as if the hospital itself remembered the pain and suffering that once filled its rooms. The chapel, meant to be a place of solace, offers no refuge from the supernatural. Visitors have reported hearing soft murmurs of prayer echoing through the empty pews, interspersed with faint, sorrowful sobs. One guest, while standing near the pulpit, felt an unseen force grip their shoulders, forcing them to kneel. When they struggled to rise, a hazy figure materialized behind the pulpit, a priest with burning eyes staring directly at them before dissolving into shadow. One of the most terrifying accounts comes from a tour participant who appeared to become possessed. In the middle of a group walk through the cell blocks, the woman suddenly collapsed, trembling violently. Her voice grew guttural as she began to mutter unintelligible words, her eyes wide and unblinking. The voice that came from her throat was not her own, but that of an older man, speaking in a harsh, accusatory tone. Several people attempted to move her, but she seemed rooted to the ground, as if an invisible force was anchoring her in place. Only after being removed from the site did she return to normal, with no memory of the incident. Port Arthur is more than a historic landmark. It is a thin veil between the living and the dead, with its spectral figures, chilling cries, and malevolent forces. This place remains a harrowing reminder of the torment endured by those who perished here, a place where the echoes of hell still linger. 10. Devil's Pool, the curse of the vengeful spirit. Tucked away in the lush tropical region of Babinda in Queensland, Australia, Devil's Pool is a hauntingly beautiful location, surrounded by massive granite boulders and crystal-clear waters. But beneath its picturesque surface lies a darker tale, a tale of love, betrayal, and a vengeful spirit that refuses to rest. Known as a popular swimming spot, Devil's Pool has earned a reputation for more than just its stunning beauty. It's infamous for the tragic deaths that have occurred there over the years, with at least 17 lives lost since 1959. According to Aboriginal folklore, the pool is cursed by the spirit of a woman named Ulana. She was a young, beautiful woman from a local tribe who fell in love with a man from a different tribe, a love that was forbidden. When they were caught fleeing together, Ulana's fate took a tragic turn. In her grief, she threw herself into the waters of the pool, cursing the place and vowing that anyone who dared to swim there would join her in death. Her spirit is said to linger in the pool, luring unsuspecting men to their doom. The chilling inscription near the pool reads, "He came for a visit and stayed forever," a stark reminder of the deadly force that still haunts the area. The eerie reputation of Devil's Pool is not just the stuff of local legend. It's been validated by countless eerie encounters. The waters, which seem so inviting during the day, have claimed the lives of many, particularly young men. Though authorities have placed strict warnings and barriers around certain sections, the temptation of the pool remains irresistible to thrill seekers. However, those who venture too close often report a palpable sense of dread, as if an unseen force is watching them. Over the years, numerous paranormal experiences have been shared by visitors. Some claim to hear the sound of a woman soft crying, or the sound of someone desperately gasping for air, though no one is around. Others describe seeing a long-haired figure, glowing faintly above the water, only for it to vanish the moment they try to get closer. There are even accounts of people feeling an invisible hand brush against their skin or being pulled under, only to narrowly escape with their lives. One of the most disturbing stories comes from a young man who, after ignoring the warnings of friends, decided to take a plunge into the pool. As he swam, his friends on the shore saw something truly terrifying, a spectral hand gripping his leg, pulling him toward the depths. He managed to break free, but when he emerged from the water, he was visibly shaken, muttering incoherently as if something had entered him during his time in the pool. Devil's Pool may appear to be a serene escape into nature, but its beauty hides a terrifying legacy. The curse of Ulana lives on, drawing the souls of the curious into its depths. With its haunting beauty and tragic past, Devil's Pool is a place where the living might soon join the dead. Would you dare to take a swim, knowing the spirits of the past still watch from the depths below?